Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening, and we welcome you all to our regular meeting tonight, our opening ceremony, and we ask for a call to order and roll call, please.
Board Member Espericueta?
Here.
Board Member Girardi?
Here.
Board Member Irvin?
Here.
Board Clerk Cornett?
Here.
And Board President Jarrell?
Here. Next, we'll ask if anyone in the audience requires a headset for Spanish translation. Please raise your hand and a device will be provided to you.
Sí, buenas noches. Si alguien requiere de audífonos para traducción, por favor avísenos y se los vamos a proveer.
Okay, there's some people that would like a device. We should wait. Some people need a device. No, but they're needing it. They're going to get it. ¿Está bien? Okay, está bien. Okay, so next we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, 6B, and I will lead the pledge. Could everybody stand, please? Right hand on your heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. So tonight, I'm going to continue with our mission statement that is adopted by our district. All members of Palm Springs Unified School District are united in our commitment to equity. We create deep, meaningful learning opportunities, build professionalism, and engage parents and community to ensure success for all students. All students graduate with the skills, capacities, and confidence needed to succeed in a rapidly changing world. And Board Member Espericueta?
Okay. Todos los miembros del Distrito Escolar Unificado de Palm Springs están unidos en nuestro compromiso con la equidad. Creamos oportunidades de aprendizaje profundas y significativas, creamos profesionalismo e involucramos a los padres y a la comunidad para garantizar el éxito de todos los estudiantes. Todos los estudiantes se gradúan con las habilidades, capacidades y confianza necesaria para tener éxito en un mundo en cambio rápido.
Thank you. And next, the land acknowledgement.
The land acknowledgement. The Palm Springs Unified School District acknowledged the Cahuilla as the original steward of the land on which the Palm Springs Unified School District facility now sits. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work with the indigenous people in this place. We pay our respect to the Cahuilla people past, present, and emerging who have been here since time immemorial.
Thank you. We'll next look at a report of closed session actions. Clerk Cornett, are there any closed session actions to report?
There are no closed session actions to report.
Thank you. Number 8, the approval of agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Move for approval.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we're going to move down to recognize and wish and commend the following parents for their involvement and engagement in district activities, committees, and events. We have 3 parents joining us tonight, and we'll come down in front of the audience. Okay. Sergio, you want to do this one? Okay. We are so excited and to present you with this special recognition tonight. Let's give them all a hand, please. You were highly recommended. So first we will start with Crisel Garcia Pontifes. Welcome up here with me. Here you go, you get to hold that. And this explains that we recognize you for your contributions to our school district through your active participation, collaboration, and involvement in ELAC and DLAC activities and committees throughout this last 23-24 school year. Thank you so much for everything you do for us. Ms. Grisel, would you like to say anything? Because I know some parents are here to see you.
Estoy nerviosa. Pues gracias por darme la oportunidad de estar en estos programas y espero seguir apoyando a estos niños que tanta falta nos hacen. Gracias a todos ustedes por darnos esta oportunidad y esperamos seguir adelante apoyándolos a todos. Y gracias a mi familia, que ellos son los que están detrás de mí también. Gracias. Y Robin, principalmente también, porque gracias a ti se hace todo lo que nosotros tenemos en proyectos. Gracias.
The next one is for Rocío Serna. Rocío Serna, in recognition of their contribution to the Pan Spring Unified School District through active participation, collaboration, and involvement in ELAC and DLAC activities and committees during the 2023-2024 school year. Congratulations. Yeah. Any Let me say something before that. All this family is very special for me, muy especial para mí. A Rocío la conozco por mucho tiempo, muchos años. A la familia de Isel Ramón, nos conocemos desde que vinimos a Estados Unidos prácticamente. Gusto verte aquí. Muy emocionado y contento que participen por sus hijos. ¿Quiere decir algo para su familia?
Gracias a todos por este apoyo y estamos felices porque tenemos los brazos abiertos aquí en el distrito, sobre todo mi Robin. Gracias por todo su apoyo y a su staff y a mi familia, porque sin ellos no podría estar aquí recibiendo. Esto también es para ustedes y vamos a seguir participando, si Dios quiere, ayudando a la comunidad de aprendices de inglés. Así es que muchas gracias por todos los programas que ustedes tienen hacia nosotros. Thank you very much.
Siguiente, the next one is Rubén Torres. And Rubén Torres, in recognition of their contribution to Pan Spring Unified School District through active participation, collaboration, and involvement in ELAC and DLAC activities and committees during the 2023-2024 school year. Congratulations, Rubén. ¿Algo que quiera decir a tu familia?
Creo que es muy importante darle gracias primeramente a nuestro creador y al hecho de poder estar aquí en este país, pero también el haber encontrado un apoyo, tanto mis hijos como mi familia en general hemos encontrado un muy buen apoyo en este distrito escolar, que nos abrió las puertas a un idioma, a un sistema escolar que era totalmente desconocido para nosotros, pero que en este año que se ha transcurrido hemos podido avanzar y ver que nuestros hijos han avanzado gracias a ese enfoque que se ha dado a aquellos aprendices de inglés. Muchísimas gracias, Miss Robin. Su equipo de trabajo lo hace y lo ha hecho muy bien y esperemos poder seguirles colaborando y contribuyendo en esta labor tan importante que se está haciendo.
I'm going to ask Robin Hinchliff to come up because this is really important to her. Now, this is really important to these special people and parents that have dedicated themselves to working for years. Go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your dedication and for being there with me and for being my teammates and my support system. Every night we have DLAC. We've done incredible things together this year, and I can't wait to keep working with you. You're so amazing. Y ya, pues no, lloro. No más que muchas gracias por toda su dedicación, por el apoyo, por ser mi equipo, porque les dije desde el principio que sola no puedo. Y me da mucho gusto de celebrarlos y pues que todos vean que ustedes son ejemplos, no solo como padres, pero también como representantes de este distrito. Gracias por apoyarme. Gracias por toda su dedicación. Thank you so much.
So next, we'll continue to item 10, public comments. If anyone in the audience would like to speak to the board for 3 minutes, we have a card that you can fill out, a yellow card, and write your name down and information, and you'll be able to talk to the board and help us understand what you're wanting to say. Want to say that in Spanish?
Si alguien quiere hacer algunos comentarios públicos, tenemos tarjetas amarillas que están ahí en el pasillo. Simplemente lo tienen que llenar, lo presentan aquí y les damos la oportunidad de platicar unos 3 minutos.
Okay, seeing that we have no comments from our public here, we'll ask Clerk Cornett, have we received any email comments?
We've not received any electronic comments.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to our presentation, number 11. 11A, we are going to have Dr. Kovacs talk with us and introduce a special person to talk about our 2024 school dashboard.
Well, yes, that special person is Dr. Jim Pfeffer, Director of State and Federal Programs, and this evening he's going to present our 23-24 results for the local indicators. And after he completes his presentation, Mrs. Jessica Parent will be presenting that information for Cielo Vista Charter.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, Board. Good evening, Cabinet. We are nearing the end of our LCAP approval sequence. As with regulations requirements and as with tradition, the LCAP local indicators are presented on the day that we vote on LCAP approval as well. These are all factors that are incorporated into the development of the LCAP. In essence, these are measures that we're required to report out because they are more qualitative. They're more collecting input and having discussions around topics as opposed to items that are submitted to the state via the state data system CalPATS. And so we report on these locally and they influence our LCAP development process as a whole. So today we'll be going through all of those items. We're going to start with the Palm Springs Unified side of things. I'll be going into detail as to what each one of the local indicators is, speaking to you a bit about the Palm Springs Unified results. After we wrap up that side, Ms. Jessica Parent, our assistant principal at Cielo Vista, will be coming up to share some of the highlights of the Cielo Vista pieces. I also like to note for the board that we'll be going through the slide deck in today's presentation, but you do have a full report of all of the text entries that will be uploaded to the California School Dashboard as part of this piece, attached to tonight's agenda as well, that goes into more detail. So as I mentioned, this is a requirement as part of the LCAP adoption process. We have each one of these indicators is designated under one of three ways, either met, or not met for 2 or more years. It's identified as met simply by doing 3 simple tasks. 1, measuring the progress in each indicator using locally available data. 2, reporting the results to the governing board at their same regularly scheduled board meeting where the LCAP adoption will be taking place, thus tonight. And 3, upload and publicly report those results through the dashboard. I'm pleased to say that we have always been able to mark all of our indicators as met, and we look forward to doing so again this year. So I'll be going through each one of the indicators in detail, talking about what it is and talking about our outcomes. I note that we have a fairly full board agenda, so I will be going fairly quickly, but as always, please, members of the board, feel free to ask me to pause. I will pause here and there as well for questions as we go. Priority 1 is considered the basics. This comes across as a couple of main pieces in regards to access to schools, essentially. The first piece is highly qualified teachers. So we report out as misassignments for teachers of English learners, total vacancies, etc. This year, according to Human Resources, we had that 1 misassignment and 10 vacant teaching positions at the beginning of the school year at the time of collection. You can see our overall percentages under 1% overall across the district, which is very good. I would like to point out to the board, this will be the last time that we report this as a local indicator because now the state is collecting that data through the CalSAS system, and we'll be posting it on what's called the TAMO report online. So that'll be one that's automatically generated from this point forward. We'll still be sharing those results with you, but it's going to be something that the state posts starting this year and moving forward. Also in this report, in this section, we speak to the number and percentage of students with their textbooks, whether they have their own copies or not. Note that it says without their own copies, and therefore that is 0%. We've been able to verify that those are all there and passed all Williams inspections for that item, as well as all of our facilities have been deemed in good repair, either to initial inspection or due to timely repair of any issues within the timelines. So pleased to say that these items all look very positive. Moving on to indicator 2, this is where we dive into a little bit more complex pieces in the reflection tool. Indicator 2 starts with the implementation of state standards. This covers a wide variety of topics, but basically focused on the district's ability to have curriculum, training resources for teachers, and supports available across all the different subject matters that students have exposure to. Those are listed on slide 4, but it's pretty much all of the different framework areas that are available within the public school system in California. As we've shown the last couple of years, we continue to display this for you in table format. Each one of the rows is a separate reflection item, and we place our topics in the rating areas. Anything in black is text is maintained from the prior year, so you can see most of our items have maintained their status from our previous ranking in this time last year. Those items in red are regressive, meaning that we've rolled them back a level. That did not happen with any of our items this year, which is very good to see. And green items have moved up a level or more. So you can see this year we've had good success in moving forward with making professional learning available in history and social science, have aligned instructional materials available in the same subject, improved our policy and programs around NGSS, improvements along world language, and in supports for teachers on the standards with development tools. Let me pause there for a moment and see if there's any questions on priorities 1 and 2. All right. Priority 3 moves towards... Go
That
ahead.
establish the priorities in this focus area.
That establish the priorities? So
Yes.
the priorities come from the local control funding formula legislation at the state level.
Do they change?
The priorities to this point really haven't changed, but the reflection tools have over time.
Yeah.
So the state evolves what those reflection tools look like. The best place that I can show that to you this year is in priority 6. I'll be happy to highlight that for you when we get there.
Thank you.
In priority 3 is focused on family engagement. There's an evaluation self-reflection tool here that's very in-depth. It involves some rating and narrative passages across 3 main research-based areas of family engagement. That's building relationships between school staff and families, building partnerships for student outcomes, and seeking input for decision-making processes. This year, through our review process and conversations with parents, with district staff, doing some survey data, we've rated ourselves across the board in all 3 areas using the tool. You have the narrative passages within the full report, but the different rating structures have shown some improvements in some areas. For instance, in building relationships, the progress in developing capacity of staff to build trusting and respectful relationships has been a focal point. We're happy to say we've now moved that to a full implementation status while we continue to build goals in our other areas, including things like improving two-way communication and supporting staff in learning about their family's strengths and languages and goals in order to best benefit their students. When it comes to building partnerships for student outcomes, again, progressing well in the areas of providing family with information and resources to support learning, and for policies and programs for teachers to meet with families in a variety of different ways. This looks a little different grade span to grade span, everything from student-teacher conferences to interactions via digital tools, but a wide variety of different support pieces. Again, always areas to work on in this area as well, but things moving in the right direction. In the third part of priority 3, it's seeking input for decision-making. This is our strongest area as it relates to the reflection tool. Given our PAC structures, our LCAP input processes, the way that we pull together different convening groups in order to discuss various topics from the superintendent's parent group all the way down to the various offerings for the Family Center, we have a wide variety of interactive pieces, and our families acknowledge that annually through our Panorama survey by continuing to score us well in the 90s in their percent favorable in items related to being able to provide input and having their voices heard, which is always very positive. So again, across the board with priority 3, there are narratives that go with each of these components that speak to highlights and next steps. Those are all within the full report document for your reference. Any questions on priority 3? Thank you very much. Priority 6 is the next one. This is the local climate survey. As with some other pieces, we've been a little bit ahead of the game on this one. Palm Springs Unified has done an annual climate survey using the Panorama tool, among others, for about 7 or 8 years now. That's been stretching out for quite some time. The requirement for this used to be an every other year survey, and the state just moved it to an every year survey. So for us, that really isn't a change. We're used to looking at that data annually, and so we kept right on with normal business. There are guiding questions in this piece related to 4 different prompts. Those are within the full report, speaking about what some of those strengths are and some of those elements that we still need to work on with the climate components. Really, it focuses around 2 main components of our survey, those ideas of school safety from a student perspective, and the ideas of school connectedness, also known as sense of belonging. We want to see these numbers obviously as high as possible. In speaking with our partners at Panorama who do their surveys, although our numbers are still on the rise and not yet where we want them, we have been hearing that compared to many other large districts across the country, our numbers are sizably higher, which is promising. Still work to do, I think we can all agree upon, but good to know that we're heading the right direction quickly. We do have some differentials in some of our groups' perspectives, which we continue to acknowledge and work towards balancing out. But as you can see, we have some differences even within our elementary and secondary spans. So where we look at things like school safety, we want to see those balancing out and not so much of a difference between our elementary and secondary students. Similarly with school connectedness. Any questions on the school climate elements?
I'm just curious, Jim, what does near 20 percentile mean?
Sure. So on the Panorama survey, they're able to give us percentile rankings of how our numbers compare to everybody else that touches the exact same set of items. Not just items of that nature, but the exact same question sets. Us, with many other districts across the state, have been given those same questions for many different years now in order to be able to track consistent progress statistically. When we look at that near 20th percentile, that means that if we were on a list of 100 different districts, we would be number 20 from the bottom. So continuing to need to push that forward. We're not matching where the main part of the bell curve is. So progress to be made. As a counterexample to that, at the secondary level for school safety, we're at the 50th percentile, literally right at that peak of the bell curve. And so we're sitting there right with the main group of participants in those same survey items. Sure.
Why was it, I think, something that you wanted to say about the differences between the elementary and secondary?
There's some interesting dynamics this year. Secondary often will come in with some lower scores in relation to safety. This year we saw some consistent increases in secondary schools as it relates to safety. In turn, usually the opposite's the case with elementary. Usually they tend to be a little inflated. This year they were down a little bit. So we're analyzing some of those differentials to see what's going on. And I know that our various school teams and student services teams have been taking a look at that for programming purposes. School connectedness, same thing. We saw a nice little rise in secondary, still work to do clearly at 50% overall favorability, but we definitely want to see some improvement there as well. Sure. Priority 7 is the last of the local indicator areas. This one's, again, pretty complex. It's referring to an access to a broad course of study and goes across 4 different narrative entries. Prompt 1 asks us to identify the locally selected measures with which we use this tool through a variety of different reporting mechanisms that we pull out of the district systems. We're able to analyze different structures. Again, another example of where we as a district have been a bit ahead of the game. We actually have had a long-standing operation expectations report, number 10 to be exact, that touches on these exact topics that has been presented to the board dating back for, I'll ask Dr. Signore, about as long as any of us can remember. I don't recall exactly when that landed. It's been a very long time, but we've always been looking at these types of access points and how well we're putting together a full system for access to that broad course of study. In prompt 2, we're asked to define the extent to which all students have access to their broad course of study, thinking back to those priority 2 subject matter areas. This is where we touch on things like we're providing extra music and PE access and our STEAM access in the elementary settings to touch on some of those topics from credentialed teachers in those areas. We talk about our technology distribution and maintenance, our online learning tools to allow access to students pretty much wherever they are. And we're continuing to make sure that we're analyzing that our participation rates of our different student groups are equitable across those programs. Item 3 in this part of the tool focuses on where the issues are. What are those barriers that prevent things from happening? And chronic absenteeism raises its head once again in this area. Even with systems in place, high chronic absenteeism rates limit access simply by where the students are and aren't participating. And so resolving that would come a long way in making sure that we can close gaps in some of these areas. We continue to support a lot of SEL mental health and behavioral needs as well. Those create some conditions for some students that are challenging for their access points. And we still are working very heavily on grade recovery, course recovery, and some suboptimal class completion rates in certain areas that we're working on improving in order to make sure that those students are not just accessing the courses, but completing them at the requisite manner. Finally, the last prompt for priority 7 has to do with the results of the tool and what we're going to do about it in essence. What are those next steps? And so we're looking to continue to refine those MTSS components. I pointed a couple of those out in our last presentation here at our last meeting with the LCAP with some of those actions that were highlighted. We also are looking to continue some of those elementary programs. That elementary STEAM program continues to get rave reviews from our educational partners as being an access point and is one of those examples of where we can leverage the LCAP to provide access to students to a variety of different subject matters. Finally, dealing with chronic absenteeism, social emotional needs, as well as supporting our families continue to be next steps in those areas. So really nothing that is substantially new has been identified for this particular tool, but refinement to our systems and being more targeted and explicit in how we're moving forward is what we're after at this time. Any questions regarding priority 7? All right. Yes.
Do we know how many of our students use our grade recovery and course recovery programs?
I'll turn to Dr. Kovac. I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Neither do I, but it varies by school site. But we can actually look back at 23, 24 to pull those numbers for you.
I would assume it's probably used quite a bit.
It is quite a bit.
I would think so.
Even sometimes before or after school, within the school day, some of our high schools are using it that way as well.
Okay, great.
So we'll get more information
Okay.
to you about
great.
that.
I mean, those are great programs for our students.
Especially with the variety that we offer. We have some online offerings. We have things like the Mission Graduate Program that's more connected. Of course, intercession programs. So a wide variety of different access points as well, which is key.
Okay, maybe just sometime do just a little update. Not tomorrow. Thanks.
So that's a review of each priority area in and of themselves. So our reporting summary real quick is just to say that prior to the deadline, we'll be posting that all items have been presented as they should be. We'll be marking them all as met because they will be inserted into the system prior to the July 31st deadline. We'll be able to proudly say that it will be posted again on the dashboard during its refresh, which is looking like the end of November this year, but it'll be somewhere in the November-December window in order to update that information. There's also one opportunity for an optional narrative. This is the same optional narrative we've used for the last few years that just directs visitors to the district's part of the dashboard back to our website to look at things like our LCAP and take a look and see what kinds of programs that we're doing. The rest of the slide deck continues on in Spanish with the same items just for reference purposes for the group. Before I hand it over to Ms. Parent, is there any other questions for the Palm Springs Unified components? And then we can take a look at the Cielo Vista items. All right, thank you very much.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. I'm presenting the highlights of the progress and focus for CVC local indicators. Dr. Pfeffer went over all of the background information, so I'll start with priority 1. All of our EL students are taught by highly qualified teachers. Our students have full access to all standards-based materials and instruction. Our facilities earned 100% after the most recent inspection in May. This summer, we have several land improvement projects happening so that our students have a beautiful home away from home. Priority 2, all continue to be in full implementation and sustainable. New additions with support of Prop 28, we hope to be adding dance. So you'll see the VEPA CTE, that's for dance. Priority 3, parent and family engagement. Our focus is to continue to consult and seek input during our monthly coffee chats, ELAC meetings, and school events. We will continue to reach out to our families and create an environment in which they can be a part of our shared leadership, continuing to ask them to take leads on events on campus. Priority 6, school climate. Small favorable progress, as Dr. Pfeffer shared. However, 40% of students not feeling connected is 40% too many. We've adopted the Ron Clark Academy house system, in which students will be a part of a house family with students across grade levels, and 25 staff members will become mentors of those students. The goal is to create a climate in which each student feels safe and connected to at least one adult on campus. So hopefully next year we'll see some higher percentages there.
Ms. Parent?
Yes.
Would you mind going back to priority 3, narrative highlights?
Yes.
With the building relationships and parent connections. How is it that you really think you're engaging parents and helping them participate there at CVC?
Well,
Secret to your success, as I'm asking.
we invite them to every event that we host on campus. If the kids are doing a play, if kids are finishing up a project, we just really try to invite and open the doors to our parents. It was this year was really more involvement, slow after COVID coming. Just the coffee chats, we do one in the morning, we do one after school every single month to accommodate, right? ELAC, I do surveys as when can the parents really come. The evening family events. So just trying to really survey when are the parents available and accommodate to the parent schedule, because that's really the trick, because they work. Some work in the morning, some work at night. So just calendaring out as many events and opportunities for parents to come onto campus. You're welcome.
I have a question for you as well.
Yes.
If you can go to the slide after this one. I don't see African Americans on here. Do you guys have any African American students?
We do, but because we don't have a large amount, the way the data is reported, it doesn't give us a number.
Do you know what
great question, we can.
of African American students you guys have?
I don't, sorry, but I can look it up.
Okay.
And bring that back to you, and I can email you.
Okay.
Because I know, and Parashika has shared, there's a certain number that we have to have for any student group to get data. But we can also go to Panorama Survey does allow us to go to each individual student. And so we know who those students are. And so by knowing who those students are, we can do the math ourselves. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you,
Board
guys.
Member Irvin will share that information this Friday.
Okay, thank you. All right. Priority 7, broad course of study. Our Spanish A through G program continues to thrive. An area of focus for CVC is CTE and VEPA. With the support of Prop 28, we hope to develop a dynamic dance program that will expose students to post-secondary options in the dance and performing arts industry. So that's the goal. That's what we're going to plan to use to improve in Priority 7 and use our Prop 28. Any questions?
The only grades that actually change classes are the intermediate grades?
6th through 8th.
6th through 8th, okay.
They do, yeah. They're on an 8-period day.
They're on an 8-period day. So they have electives.
Yes, they do.
Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
So thank you very much. This concludes the set of items that need to be presented as part of the LCAP approval process. You now have all of that information in front of you, and we look forward to the voting item later today for the LCAP approval. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll continue with 11B and Workplace Violence Prevention Plan, OE 4.5. Mr. Clayton Hill will present this Workplace Violence Prevention Plan.
Well, good evening, board and audience. So I'm going to present here this evening the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. This was a collaborative effort across many departments. We actually have 3 essential folks relative to this work in the audience here. We have Ms. Brunel, Ms. Velasquez, and Mr. Sotelo. So thank you for being here this evening as we go through this. There's really 3 goals that I'm going to try and hit with this presentation. Number 1, provide an explanation of what is driving the conception of this plan. Where does this come from? So I'll touch on that. We'll also touch on what process the district went through to arrive at this plan. And then finally, demonstrate the structure of the plan as it relates to the requirements. So it's a more of a, let's say, 30,000-foot view of this. However, you do have a copy of the actual plan, the 38 pages of the plan, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have about that as we go through this presentation. So we'll begin here with the actual legislation. SB 553 was signed into law in September of last calendar year by the governor. And the law is covering a couple key aspects, but number one and primarily is to address violence, workplace violence against employees. So that's important to highlight. Number one, violence against employees. And then number two, the plan has to be instituted on a timeline by July 1st. And there are several other aspects that we're going to touch on here in the next slide as far as definitions and what really workplace violence addresses specifically. But that's the purpose of this legislation here with SB 553. It's interesting to note also, certainly we look at this through the lens of education. We're a school district, but this does apply to all businesses in California. That's an important thing to note. And so if you own a business, you certainly know what I'm talking about. Secondly, as soon as this became law, the school district started to begin this process on the road to developing this plan, which began with, number one, gathering information, going to trainings provided by various agencies around what the aspects of this legislation include and really the process for developing it. Then we went through, we have a 24-member committee, roughly 10 committee meetings, and then a process of gathering information. And so all that took place in a rather condensed timeline leading up to this evening. And then the last image up there is our power button. Again, legislation states that this has to be implemented, all businesses in California, on July 1st of this calendar year. Within SB 553, it actually defines the 4 different types of workplace violence. Again, I'm not going to read the particulars on the slide other than to note that this is violence against employees. So you'll see the 4 different types. All different types of violence against employees. So, for example, type 1, as defined in legislation, would be violence against an employee that's committed by a person who has no legitimate business relative to going into that, in our case, schools. And number 2, violence against an employee from a customer. We also have student, I've underlined that, visitors, probably more applicable to us. These types of violence are important because there's a record-keeping aspect, which I'll touch on here in a moment. And part of that is this is sort of the springboard into all the reporting piece. What type of violence? We have to note that within this legislation. So just want to point out on this particular slide again that the legislation actually defines the types of workplace violence. So again, we had 24 committee members. We actually, on this committee, a range of partners. We had our labor partners participate. We had leaders from across departments. School districts is unique than other businesses because we're not so centralized. We have sites and locations across multiple cities across the valley. We have folks who provide services in a classroom, let's say, in an office, but we also have itinerant workers. We have our tradesmen who travel and fill work orders, and so there's unique challenges with each of those different jobs. So the committee members were selected to provide that unique lens as with respect to what hazards exist when it comes to workplace violence. And so again, those 24 committee members not only provide us their unique perspective, but also the perspective of the folks that they work with. So we have, moving down then to our survey, we provided a survey out to all employees. Again, that's part of this legislation that all employees have to be engaged in this process. We have 269 responses, admittedly pretty low, but you know, with surveys, it's hard to tell what would motivate someone. Typically, I would suggest that it's likely if somebody has a concern, we'll start hearing from them. But we will continue to engage them. In September, our first safety committee meeting, we've invited folks to come on out and attend that meeting as well to provide us feedback as it relates to workplace violence, the prevention plan. Another aspect of this was document. The law requires a record keeping, maintenance of records. And not only that, but we also took quite a bit of time in discussing how, if an employee is experiencing workplace violence, how are they going to note that? What's going to trigger this process? What is then going to move the notification that there is a workplace violence or a credible threat? What's going to move it through the process of analyzing that hazard, doing the threat assessment? And so the document tracking aspect of this and development was a big portion. And again, big thanks to our ETIS team for their help on that. And then this last slide here, on the right side, we see the requirements as listed in SB 553. It doesn't show as well on this. There's 3 colors. The top portion is green, then to sort of a beige color, and then a blue. On the requirements, there has to be in every plan, every business must have a process for identifying, investigating, evaluating, and correcting hazards. Within our plan, you'll notice within the contents numbers 1 through 5 is where we are addressing those. So for example, workplace violence hazard assessment, a process was gone through in the committee meetings to actually determine the hazard for the purpose of identifying. And then in section 4, incident investigation, you can see calling out specifically need to investigate incidences as they happen. So this is just demonstrating that alignment. The second portion in the requirement is to maintain records, and there's multiple types of records. There must be a violent incident log must be maintained. Training logs must be maintained. With respect to the training, that has to be done annually, and then anytime a new hazard arises. And so with respect to training, we're going to address the training annually in 2 ways. Number one, we're going to do it on a district approach through our beginning of the year trainings, where folks will get a copy online. They'll go in through our Keenan portal. They'll get a copy of the plan, acknowledge that they've received and read it. But then in a more personal touch, if you will, at the site and department level, we're going to work with our managers and supervisors to address the key aspects of the plan, notably the reporting piece. So folks know that A, there's a plan, and B, that they have an ability to report when they have a concern. So that is with respect to the training. We'll again maintain those records. And then there's documentation, and all of these documents are in the appendix within the plan that you have for correcting hazards as they become known. And then again, with the last portion is the active involvement of our employees. And that brings us up, and again, you do have the plan. It is quite exhaustive, I'd say. The unique thing about this is it's new. It's new not only for us, but across the state. For example, Cal OSHA doesn't even have to have their plan in place until January 1st of 2025. And so districts are certainly collaborating across with each other. Businesses are doing the same to kind of get a sense of, are we on target, are we not? And so undoubtedly, as we move through this school year, this plan will continue to evolve and make changes, especially on the hazard correction aspect of it as reports are being filed. The last thing I'd say before I pause and take any questions is the plan's intent, which is also in the policy statement, I think it's page 3, is not to supplant or usurp any existing practices or procedures relative to addressing things such as student behavior. And so that'll be another interesting aspect of this plan as it rolls out, how it marries, if you will, with some of the other processes in place for addressing, again, as an example, student behavior. So with that, I'll pause and certainly take any questions you have.
Any questions?
Glenn, I have a question. I'm not sure you know the answer to this. Maybe. I noticed that the types of workplace violence are classified into 4 different categories. And it's not by the severity of the violence, it's by who perpetuates the violence. Is there a reason for that? Do you know the theory behind this?
No, I have my own thoughts on the why, but I took some time to look into. I was curious as to what generated this. I didn't know if it was a response to some of the things that local retailers were experiencing with respect to property theft and violence that was coming in from there. So I read a lot of different things that talked on that. The only thing that I can land on is for purposes of tracking where the violence is coming from. Is there a pattern with respect to who is the perpetrator of the violence? But yes, severity isn't included in that because you also have credible threat of credible violence on top of just actual violence.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
I do. I just wanted to know, would the threats include like social media, emails, text messages? Would those come under this also?
Yeah, they certainly would under that credible threat.
Credible threat,
Yeah.
okay. And who determines if it's a credible threat?
Well, we have a great question. We have the threat assessment team, which is composed of various administrators across departments that have an actual threat assessment document that they go through. And we really were able to take from current threat assessment documents that were used for other aspects of the work that's been happening out of student services to amend it to fit this. But it would go through that investigative process to make the determination, because credible threat is actually a legal definition too. I suspect as we start rolling through this process, we'll be collaborating closely with our legal as well to present what findings we're arriving at to make sure that we're on track with how we're responding to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'm wondering, this is a new prevention plan just starting this year, passed by a state bill, right?
Correct.
Is there a statute of limitations that comes into play? Like, say 2 years ago, I had this happen and I bring that out. Is there anything related to that?
So within the law, there's maybe a parallel example would be UCP's. UCP will have a 6-month time frame. Within this law, there isn't a time frame noted that says the violent act or credible threat must have occurred in X number of days or months. That doesn't exist. So I'm not aware of a statute of limitations on that. Whenever I hear statute of limitations, I think of sort of the legal restraints within that. This is more a plan that people can report if they have a concern. We'll go through the investigative process to make a determination on how credible and if we have to do a corrective action for that hazard.
Thank you. Then you do investigations too, or statements?
Correct. Yeah,
You kind of start a legal process and do research and interviews and all of the pieces that come together for that complaint, right?
Yeah, we have a number of complaints. We probably have 4 or 5 board policies relative to complaints to kind of walk you through what the process is for investigating, collecting information. And so we would follow a similar process investigating a threat of violence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you.
Moving on to presentation number 3, which is 11C, our 2024 bond election presentation, OE5, and Mr. Simmons will introduce our guest.
Good evening, Board. Thank you so much. As you know, this evening you're going to be voting on whether or not to allow for a 2024 bond to be on the November ballot. Ahead of that, we've done some surveys. You've seen the results of those surveys. We've also done some discussions on the need for additional bond funds as we just went through a study session even as early as tonight. So we have Joe Crump here from Dale Scott's office to kind of go through any last minute discussions and to show you how this new 2024 bond would fit within our existing bond measures that we have outstanding right now. So.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Simmons. So my name is Joe Crump from Dale Scott & Company. So as Assistant Superintendent Simmons said, I'm going to cover the proposed bond measure for the November ballot. But first I'm going to go over a few slides just to cover a little bit of background. I know you've seen a lot of this information before. So slide 2, district voters have approved 5 general obligation bond measures going back to 1992. The most recent was Measure I, approved in 2016, and that measure authorized about $216 million of bonds. That measure was issued in 2 series. So Series B, the second and final series of those bonds, was issued earlier this year. So currently there is no unissued bond authorization currently remaining. Slide 3 shows the district's historical assessed value going back 20 years. As you can see, the early to mid-2000s growth was very strong. In the midst of the financial crisis, there were a few years where growth was negative, similar to a lot of communities throughout the state and the country. But since about 2014, recovery has been very strong. We could see, especially over the last couple years, annual growth in 2023 was 10%. Just this past year in 2024, it was 9.9%. So very strong assessed value growth, and obviously that relates to tax rates and how the bond rates are calculated. Moving on to slide 4. So we put together this slide to show some information just about the Measure I bonds. The graph shows the actual and projected tax rates over the life of the repayment starting in 2022. And the tax rates we're projecting all the way through 2049 when all of the Measure I bonds are paid off. As I mentioned, Measure I was issued in 2 series. Series A was issued in 2021 in the amount of $118 million. Again, Series B was issued 2024 in the amount of about $98.5 million. And the pie chart is kind of interesting because we've broken out the payments over the life of the Measure I bonds. And you could see that about only a quarter of those payments are from interest. So, every bond is different, but generally speaking, when we think about a conventional long-term 25, 30-year school bond, it's typically the case that interest accounts for closer to half of the total repayment. So, I just want to provide that context that when all is said and done, the Measure I interest payments are still fairly low at 1/4 of the total payments. All right, so covering that background, we're going to get into what the proposed bond measure, which is later on the agenda, looks like. So I think you've seen this before, but just to reiterate, I want to call your attention to the tax rate graph. So unlike the graph I showed previously, the projected tax rates in the gray bars are for all of the district's currently outstanding bonds. And the current actual rate levied by the county is about $145 per 100,000 of assessed value. So that's what the actual rate currently levied by the county. And as I think Dale had discussed earlier, we have determined that based on the actual debt service due in this fiscal year for the district's outstanding bonds, that rate, just based on the debt service, should be closer to about 113 or 114. But what we've discovered in conversations with the district and the county is that the county has been levying more money than they need in order to build up a reserve. So this is extra money that counties will build up just to have this reserve of money available. So that accounts for the large tax rate. That's common throughout counties in California, but it's kind of a lot more significant that we've seen for Riverside County over the past 3 years. So that's that large tax rate. In the next year, for fiscal year 24-25, that rate has not been set yet, but we do know the payments that will be on that fiscal year. And based on the debt service due, not including the reserve, so we're kind of setting that to the side, we are estimating that the actual tax rate should be about $110 when we incorporate all of the district's bonds.
Just real quick, Joe, when he says debt service due, he means principal and interest combined.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And so the proposed bond measure, as you can see from that graph, is not to extend the 23-24 tax rate, but we're going to extend that lower 24-25 tax rate. And that's what you see in the orange bars. That is the estimated tax rates for the proposed bond measure. So it's a tax rate extension, and the idea would be to not increase the tax rate over that estimated $110 tax rate. So I know there's a little bit of a lot going on here, but that's kind of the idea. So we're extending that lower tax rate. Now we also want to discuss the table on the right. This is not set in stone. This is an estimated issuance schedule for the new bonds. So the authorization is for $465 million. And our preliminary structure assumes that it's issued in 3 series with the principal amounts you can see there, 3 years apart. So the first would be in 25, Series B would be 2028, and Series C would be 2031. Now, that is up to the board's discretion, assuming the measure passes. The board can decide how many series to issue, what are the amounts of those series, the timing of those series. There's a little bit of a limitation. Obviously, it's probably unlikely you would want to issue all of it at once. That would increase the interest cost. That also might not work with the tax rate constraint we're going for. So, there's some limitation there, but this is not set in stone. It is at the board's discretion how many series, what size, and when those series are issued.
Can I ask a quick question?
Let me pause here because we have one more slide left, but let me pause here in case there are any questions.
I'm sorry, you wanted to finish up?
Yeah.
Let's just focus on this slide because the next one is just the timeline.
Timetable.
My question is, as assessed values rise, will that $110 come down?
Yeah, it depends. That's a great question. Assuming the bonds have already issued, and if assessed values are higher than we project, absolutely, the tax rates will go down. One thing I did not mention here, it's pretty fine print, but there is a footnote. So we are assuming an assessed value. Actually, this is pretty conservative. Assessed value of 5% through 2027 and 3.5% thereafter. So that is based on, the historical assessed value we looked at in slide 3. That's very conservative. So I would expect, yes, if we structure the bonds based on those conservative AV assumptions, most likely what you would actually see is the tax rates would trend downward over time.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at, if that happened, the total amount of tax a resident would pay would stay the same.
In terms of the actual payments, those are fixed, once the bonds are issued. But in terms of the tax rate, if assessed values are higher, the rate would decrease.
Right. So if the value goes up, the $110 comes down.
Exactly. Yep.
So the total amount received stays the same.
Total amount of money received, but the rate would decrease.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think we're on the same page.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Go ahead.
One more thing you might be asking also. Well, why do we not just keep it at 110 and pay off the bonds much earlier rather than reducing? And that's because we can't go over $60 per 100,000 for any one bond that's been voted on. So you'll notice that orange bar, as you get to say 2033, it's always going to that orange bar staying the same because it's understood that the maximum it can be is 60. So they're just showing it across that graph as 60. So we couldn't shorten that up, but that's another reason why you couldn't just take out 460 million, because you still have to follow kind of this pathway because you can't increase it beyond that. So.
And so, further that the bond goes out, the lower the amount goes down, right?
That is correct, yeah, just as this, so the gray bars show the current 4 measures that we have out there. S and T are almost paid off, but you still have E and I, but that gray bar is those 4 together, and those are already mapped out, as you see here, because we already know the principal and interest that's owed on those. What we don't know and we're projecting is the orange, the 2024 bond, and how that fits in with this. But as we sell the different series, we will begin to know for sure what those principal and interests are and how it fits into this graph. But
And just for the public's assumption, these are 5 different bonds that make up this $110.31.
Well, it's 4 currently.
4.
But if the voters vote on this new measure, then it will be 5.
Okay.
For at least a few years until S and T are paid off, and then E and I continue on but continue to go down as this graph shows.
All right, let me move to the final slide. So this is a timetable of some of the major steps regarding the bond election. The due date from the county for the filings of the election resolution and other related items is August 9th. In mid-August is the due date to file an argument, which will be on the ballot measure. And that's something, you know, our office will work with the district on. We can also assist with the district to distribute informational materials to voters. So this is not advocacy materials, but it's often helpful to distribute informational materials regarding tax rates, projects, in this case, the fact that there's no tax rate increase. So about September is when a lot of that information starts going out to voters. Of course, vote by mail ballots start being sent to voters in early October. Election date is obviously November 5th. December 5th is the last day for the county to certify election results, so we'll know the final tally by that date. You know, most likely we'll know the result a lot sooner than that, but that's when the county will certify the results. And then in terms of when Series A, the first bond, is issued, you know, we've put TBD here. In the earlier slide, we were kind of estimating, you know, it could be as early as next spring, but again, that's up to the board to decide how much funds we need and when do you need those funds by. So that's an overview of the timetable, but I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crump, and your
Thank you.
organization and Assistant Superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We continue with board member comments. Is there anyone that'd like to share something with the public? Go ahead, Sergio, if you wish, or Charlie.
I'll go.
All right.
So on June 15th, I went to the JOJ Juneteenth event at the Desert Highland Unity Center. Great turnout. Of course, always the children were riding camels, had an opportunity to get free food, had games, activities, and different things to celebrate the wonderful holiday. I also attended at the Palm Springs Art Museum on June 20th. I also attended the Juneteenth celebration that was there at the Palm Springs Art Museum. They had wonderful singers, and just the experience of being able to walk around and see some of the African American art in our museums. So if you haven't had the opportunity, I would tell you to definitely take a minute and go and visit our museum. On Thursday, they are free admission, so great opportunity for the kids and the family. Lastly, on June 24th, which was yesterday, we had our board meeting retreat, and so we got a lot done, and sometimes we all don't agree, but we agree to get to a perfect ground, and we make great decisions, and we make great decisions and do wonderful things at our board retreats.
I just wanted to say that I was able to attend our Expanded Learning Opportunities Summer School at Nellie Kaufman Middle School, which was really an exciting program for our students, also for our staff. It was just a joy to see everybody so happy and happy to be there. The kids were involved in cooking classes, launching rockets, learning about the properties of blood, going on field trips, learning about gravity. I think the students and staff were having a wonderful time. It was so organized, and everybody was having such a great time, including Guillermo Chavez, who is the principal of Cathedral City High School, and he is the principal this summer of the expanded learning camp at Nellie Kaufman. So it was really fun to visit them, and a big kudos to Ms. Amber Gascoigne for providing really a fabulous opportunity for our kids and the staff. The staff was really wonderful. It was everybody was so happy. It was great.
Anything else? All right. Thank you.
And yes, we did have a great time yesterday at our board retreat, so thank you. We did. And we always agree at the end.
Yeah, we did.
I'll quickly say thank you to Dr. Kovatz, Dr. Pfeffer, Clayton Hill, Jeff Simmons, Mr. Crump, Julie, and our developer or builder. Thank you all for your informative presentations. Joan Boyko does this show, you learn something new every day. And now that's in my head, that it's now in, is something that's right up in front of me. And so we do learn a lot new throughout our work here in the district and in the school board. And I had the chance to learn about the swim program that just opened up at the high school, Cathedral City High School, on Saturday, and the partnership that we have with the City Council of Cathedral City, the district, Palm Springs Unified, and the Desert Recreational District. And that was it's really wonderful to have the pool open up for the public so kids can learn water safety, get lessons for about $5 a swimming lesson. And there's room for people to do lap swimming. It's a wonderful opportunity for the neighborhood there and across the valley or the district to use this pool. I live 3 blocks away from that pool, and I would definitely think about going up there and swimming if it was open when I lived there. I had the opportunity to go to a retirement party. Now here in Palm Springs Unified, they do it right. And it was for a psychologist, Mr. Mark Kalkowski, and I know Mark from being in education, and boy, they know how to have a great time. So they had a Kahoot about Mark Kalkowski. And so I didn't get to stay and play, but it was a great time. And it was wonderful to make personal connections with our psychologists and sit at their table and talk to them. In fact, 2 of them said, "Oh, I know you." And I said, "That's wonderful." And they said, "I know your daughter." And we went to school with her. And I thought, oh, okay. No, I'll be okay with that. Then also, yesterday we had our June special meeting. The 5 of us met, and we worked out a lot of ideas and details, and we really did debate and collaborate. We set directions, and we established structures and accountability, and we provided leadership and worked with our superintendent to help us guide the district, and that's really, really important. So my last words are, in 1647, when Massachusetts Bay Colony passed a law requiring towns to establish and maintain schools, that's when school boards started. So we are older than the Constitution and the birth of our country. And right now there's 95,000 school boards across the United States that we are so lucky to be part of this one. And so for that, I wish everyone a happy holiday coming up, 4th of July, and be safe, okay? And that's good for me.
Okay, well, thank you, President Terrell. Just as far as the superintendent's report, just very briefly, this Thursday and Friday, I will be out of town attending the Summer Institute for the California Association of Latino Superintendents and Administrators, better known as CALSA. This institute is very well organized and has grown tremendously over the years, including some outstanding speakers, such as our very own Riverside County Office of Education Superintendent, Dr. Edwin Gomez. So I'm looking forward to a very productive event this Thursday and Friday. But I also share all of this because unfortunately, that will prevent me from attending an exciting event that we'll have here in our district as part of our ELOP program and led by Amber Gascoigne. And that is the red carpet premiere of the Young Creators Student Film Program, which will take place this Thursday evening at the Mary Pickford Theater. The students involved in this program will have a special showing of their short film. So I share this because I'd like to encourage as many as possible to attend and show your support for our students and their artistic talents. So thank you.
Next, we'll move on to board action items. Was there something else?
But in the morning. I'm sorry, I was corrected, not in the evening, the morning.
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay, so thank you.
That's right.
So yeah, don't get in line at that evening, it'll be in the morning, so thank you.
All right. Next, board action items. We'll continue with 14A, the approval of certificated and classified employee transactions, OE 4.4. Mr. Clayton Hill will introduce our new appointment.
All right, well, good evening once again, esteemed board members. I'm pleased to be here tonight to present our recommendation for the Director of Security and Disaster Preparedness, Mr. Alex Borrego. Come on up. We're very pleased to recommend Mr. Alex Borrego for the new Director of Security and Disaster Preparedness for Palm Springs Unified. Mr. Borrego began his career with Palm Springs in 2014 as a campus security assistant with a student-centered focus and a commitment to quality customer service. Through an ongoing education and ability to develop strong relationships with students, staff, and community, Mr. Borrego proved himself as a trusted leader as he transitioned to different roles within the department. In 2021, Alex was promoted to the position of security supervisor. He exemplifies the district's commitment to ensuring the safety of all students, staff, and parents with the goal of supporting academic growth. As Mr. Levon Smart, his former supervisor, noted, Alex is a remarkable professional who possesses the rare combination of deep knowledge of security principles and the ability to unite people towards a common goal. We are confident that Mr. Borrego will sustain and enhance the excellent reputation of the Security Department for Palm Springs Unified. Congratulations, Mr. Borrego. Is there anything you would like to share with the board and anyone that you would like to recognize this evening?
I would like to extend my gratitude towards the board. Thank you for the opportunity, allowing me to be able to give back and serve my community. As well as the executive cabinet, thank you for the continuous support throughout this journey. And thank you for believing me and giving me the opportunity as well. There was a lot of work that came into this, and I definitely didn't do it by myself. So I'll start off by thanking my wife and my children for always being there, for always supporting me, as well as my family. I have a huge support group, I'm very grateful for. And I would like to thank my mentors as well for always guiding me in the right direction. My employees, security staff, everybody's been really supportive, and I couldn't be more grateful. And my admin team as well has been there with me since day one. So those of you watching on YouTube and some that are here, it's greatly appreciated. And I can't wait to start working hard and give back to my community. Thank you very much.
Okay. So with that, can I get a motion to approve the following employment agreement? Employment agreement with Alex Borrego, Director of Security and Disaster Preparedness. Classified confidential salary schedule range 39, step 1, effective 6/26/2024.
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Congratulations. Monica, get up. Get her. Text her.
Much success, Alex.
Tell her.
The whole audience was for him.
All right. Yeah, dang.
Good deal. Okay. Next, 14B, the approval of local control accountability plan, LCAP, for Palm Springs Unified School District, OE10. Can I get a motion to approve 14B?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Next, we'll go to 14C in the approval of the local accountability control and accountability plan, the LCAP, for Cielo Vista Charter School. Can I get a motion to approve 14C?
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, 14D, the approval of a new middle school and high school course, not a new, a couple new middle and high school course descriptions for 2024-2025 school year, OE10. Can I get a motion to approve 14D?
Move for approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can
I'm
I-
sorry, did
can
you want to
make a
discuss that?
comment?
Sure, sure.
Well, I just wanted to say congratulations. Looked at the programs that are available, and Painted Hills look like they're getting an advanced art and also a video game design. So parents that are out there, make sure that if you're listening and watching, make sure to get your students involved in some of these great pathways for success.
Thank you. Okay, 14E, the approval of the arts and music in schools, Prop 28, the annual report, OE10. Can I get a motion to approve 14E?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, 14F, the approval of 2024-2025 school plan for student achievement, SIPSA. Can I get a motion to approve 14F?
Move for approval.
In a second.
Second.
I just have a comment. This is a lot of dedicated work, 90-page plans, and I started to open one, and the pages are intensively detailed. And so for the people that work on the SIPSAs, all through the district, all through the schools, thank you for your dedication and hard work. You can open them, they're on our website, right, for the district, and it's a lot of good information for schools and parents and community to know about our schools. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. And this is 14G. This is the approval of appointment of representatives to the Palm Springs Unified School District College and Career Committee 2024-25, OE10. Can I get a motion to pass 14G?
Move for approval.
Okay, in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So as I was looking, my comments are past the vote, but I look at the committee membership of 55 people, and only 2 members are parents. So that, for me, is, I don't know if someone can tell us about the committee and the makeup of the committee. It's college and career, so it spans the valley and through to Riverside and all the way down to Thermal. But I only see 2 parents on this, so I'm not sure.
Yes, we'll have Dr. Dimick provide something in the Friday. for that.
Thank
But
you.
also, they'll be revisiting this list and the committee in August and September, and we'll be updating those,
Thank you.
inviting more people as we can.
Yeah, and just so you know, as well, Palm Springs happens to be my area, and I didn't see anything on there for Palm Springs High School, Raymond Cree, but I have also spoke with Karen, and I was informed as well that they will have another list put together. So I guess teachers and administrators at Palm Springs High School, as well as Raymond Cree, if you please can be available. I think it's very important that your voice is heard, and it means a lot to our students. So, you know, I think we will figure something out. And then also as well, parents, if you want to be involved, please reach out. Please let us know that you are interested. And I just would love to see parents as well.
And I want to say something else. I was reading a little bit about Perkins v. Law that required to have a student in the community and representative from Indian tribal when apply, and I think this school district applied to have Indian tribal member. Also, one language in the law will say representative of the special population. And I read a little bit to say that the Perkins v. Law define a special population as individual with disability, in the individual with economic and disadvantaged families, including low-income youth and adults, single parents, English learner. You know, maybe we can try to attract more members of the community or parents from those, and they call a special population groups. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We will.
Would students be able to participate as well, maybe?
Well, definitely, especially our secondary students.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's on there.
Yeah, it's on there, okay, thank you. All right. So we did pass that motion, okay? Next, we're going to go to 14I, the approval of monitoring report.
I think it's H.
H, oh, I'm sorry. Approval of work-based learning business and community partners, OE 10.5. Can I get a motion to approve 14H?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Now we go to 14I, the approval of monitoring report, governing policy OE 5, financial planning OE 8.1. And Mr. Simmons will provide a brief overview of OE 5.
Okay, you ready for round two budget presentation, 45 minutes? No?
No.
All right. Well, we'll call that last meeting, that's okay.
Yeah.
3 minutes, I can do that. All right, perfect. Actually, this is just a report on our compliance for OE5, which is really the budget and the budget presentation and the summary that we put out there already. This is a big thank you to Tony Carrillo and the audience here, Director of Fiscal Services, for putting this report together. As I go through the policies here, I'll just quickly go through each one of them and make a statement. So the superintendent will develop a budget that is in a summary format, understandable to the board, and presented in a manner that allows the board to understand the relationship between the budget and the results, priority, and the operational expectation goals of the year. I think we achieved that, last meeting with the budget presentation, but we also gave the board a budget summary this year, and not just the SACS reports. So hopefully you saw that as a welcoming addition to what we've been providing. The superintendent will develop a budget that credibly describes revenues and expenditures. We certainly did that, described all the revenues and expenditures in the presentation, and we showed realistic and required reductions that were needed as well. The superintendent will develop a budget that shows the amount spent in each budget category for the most recently completed fiscal year, the amount budgeted for each category for the current fiscal year, and the amount budgeted for next fiscal year. So we do the estimated actuals, and we show them side by side with the adopted budget. We did that in the presentation, and the SACS reports also does that to show you where we're expecting to end this year and how we're expecting to at least begin next year. But there's multiple reports that come out, first interim and second interim for the budget to make those adjustments. Superintendent will develop a budget that discloses budget planning assumptions. The assumptions were all listed in the summary and the presentation, so we're in compliance there. Superintendent will develop a budget that assures fiscal soundness in future years. We develop a multi-year projection plan with certain reductions, so as long as those actually occur, then it's a realistic assumption and projection. Superintendent will develop, this is number 6, will develop a budget that reflects anticipated changes in employee compensation, including inflationary adjustments, step increases, performance increases where applicable. We certainly always take into account step, column, stirs, and PERS assumptions when we do our budgets and our multi-year projections. So we're in compliance there. The superintendent, number 7, the superintendent will develop a budget that includes amounts adequate to support the board's cost of governance as defined by the board each year. We definitely make those assumptions in our budget and multi-year projections to make sure the budget is there for the governance. And then finally, number 8, the superintendent may not develop a budget that plans for the expenditures in any fiscal year of more funds than are conservatively projected to be available during that year. Our budget does show a dip into fund balance, so we are deficit spending. However, we're not deficit spending beyond our means. We did work up a conservative budget with assumed reductions, and as long as those reductions become actuals, we're in compliance with this as well. So the overall certification we recommend is in compliance.
Do we have any comments?
I have a question about number 7. It has a dollar amount for the board's professional development. If we hire a consultant, that obviously is not going to come out of that budget. So where does that come out of?
It would come out of contingencies that we have or the fund balance.
Okay, so we do have money for us to have a consultant, I assume.
Yes.
We wouldn't have to put it.
We would have based it on this current year's amount that you've spent and put that into the budget. And then if there's more than that spent this year for your consultant, then we will either take that from our contingency or from fund balance.
Okay.
What, can we just change this number?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Can we just change this number?
Can we change the number?
Yeah, it's 15,000.
Yes, we can, but I'd rather change it based on the actual amount that, once we have your actual amount. This is just a budget amount. If you guys, once you approve the governance agency or the consultant that you want, then we'll be able to put that in and we'll show it more of a reflection at first interim.
Yeah, but I think if we're expecting everybody else in the district to adhere to their budget numbers, we should set the example. So we should budget something that's realistic.
I understand, we can't go backwards and just put this number into the current budget before it's approved. It has to be approved by a certain time, is kind of what I'm saying. But there's opportunities to change the budget as we move throughout the year. So this is the budget that we placed in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to spend. We can adjust this budget, just like we adjust the budget for many other things that come up, so.
Well, I'm sorry. In the future, can you go back and see what we spent on consultants and put in a more realistic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I was going to ask, is the number, was it just used from prior years, or how did we get to that number?
So I believe, and maybe, if we would like to get Tony up to the podium to answer this, but this 15,000, I believe, is what the number you're looking at. This is for professional development. This is not for your consultant and your governance.
What do you consider that?
The professional development will be like the conferences you go to.
What do you consider the consultant?
The amount that we did for that we put in.
How would you classify what they're providing us?
I'm sorry, I guess I don't
If it's not professional development, what are they providing us?
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Well, they're providing you guidance and consultation, which actually falls into a different, we use object codes for that, so it falls into a different object code for us. So when we're looking at professional development, that comes under 5,200, if you will. A consultant comes under 5,800. So it's just where we, as fiscal people, look for our particular amounts. But we can get the amount for you, and I can put it into the Friday as to how much we budgeted for your consultants.
Because I consider it professional development.
It's not that I disagree with you, it's just when we're looking at it from a fiscal standpoint, where they fall into our SACS categories is a little different. So I understand that you get a lot of professional development out of it, but when it comes to where it's coming from the budget and fiscal, it would be a different category.
Well, maybe in the future, we can look at this and,
We can certainly add that to next year's
Yeah.
report, the OE5, add consultants to it. We'll make a note of that and
Make it
definitely add it
realistic,
for that,
yeah.
so.
I understand the consultant advice, the same as the lawyer or legal advice.
That's
Because
exactly right. It
that is
comes
my
more, it comes
understanding.
more of a legal category. That's where the 5800s, that's where you'll find your legal services, your consultant services and stuff. So I don't want to get too deep into, into the, to SACS numbers and stuff, but you're exactly right.
Any other questions? Okay. So, thank you for all that information and the clarification from our questions. Can I get a motion to approve 14I?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, 14J, approval to process automated clearinghouse ACH and wire transfers as a payment option for the fiscal year 2024-2025, OE-5. Can I get a motion to approve 14J?
Move for approval?
second.
Okay, are there any questions about this? None. Okay, motion passed. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 14.8K, the adoption of Palm Springs Unified School District fiscal year 2024-25 budget and approval of the fiscal year 2023-2024 estimated actuals, OE 5.1. Can I get a motion to approve 14K?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Move for approval?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Next, the adoption of Resolution 2023-2024-47, binding the installation of a restroom building and shade structures at Cielo Vista exempt charter school, exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and approving the filing and recording of a notice of exemption, OE 12.13. Can I get a motion to approve 14L?
I'll move it.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
14M, the adoption of Resolution 2023-24-48, approval to process budget revisions, adjustments, and transfers for the fiscal year 2024-2025, which is OE 6.7. Can I get a motion to approve 14M?
Move for approval?
A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed. 14N is a resolution number 2023-24-49, the approval to establish the estimated spending determination for the education protection account for fiscal year 2024-2025, OE 6.7. Can I get a motion to approve 14N?
I'll move it.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We continue to adoption of Resolution 2023-24-50, the approval for fiscal year 2023-24 year-end budget adjustments, which is OE 5.4. Can I get a motion to approve 14O?
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, the adoption of Resolution 2023-24-51, the ordering of consolidated government board member biennial election, specifications of the election order, and requests for consolidation, which is OE 8.2. Can I get a motion to approve 14P?
I'll move it. I'm sorry, you want to move it? No, okay, I'll move it.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, is there any way for, maybe for the public, we can explain a little bit of what this is?
Sure, Board Member Irvin, are you talking about maybe something like on the website? Is that what you're talking about?
No, just in general, inside of what this is that we're approving.
Oh, what you're approving right now? Well, simply on this particular item, what we're talking about is registering or making it clear that we have seats that are available for election. So we have 2 seats, and we have to, and anytime we do that, a resolution has to be adopted for that.
Okay, and so we have dates and different things that,
Yes, it is listed on there, I believe.
okay.
Yeah, it's all listed on there, so we can make sure that it's, yeah, so it's within the attachment. It's highlights that what the dates of the elections are, and the whole resolution just pretty much outlines it right there.
I'm sorry.
And I just want to say, I assume that we still have to pay for the election. Unless nobody runs against the candidate who's now holding that office.
That's correct.
And what is, I can't remember, it's quite expensive, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I don't know the exact price, but it's a bit up there.
$400.
Pardon me?
I don't know the exact cost, but it is a bit up there.
Good to know.
A lot cheaper than running a special election on your own, but.
That's true.
Do you know how much it is, Joe?
I do not know the amount, but we can get it for you for the Friday if you'd like to know.
I think we have some curiosity.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this item?
No, I just wanted, the public to know kind of what it is. Sometimes we approve items and just kind of move on. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that, election is coming up and there's some seats that are available.
Thank you.
There's actually 2 seats available, right? In trustee area.
1, that's me.
1 and trustee area
2.
2.
Yeah, and they're both listed on the resolution as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so did we make a motion to pass?
We made a motion, we don't have a second.
Okay. thank
Second.
you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next, the adoption of Resolution 2024-25-06 of the Board of Education of Palm Springs Unified School District ordering a school bond election, establishing specifications for an election order, requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2024, and taking related actions, which is OE-6. Can I get a motion to approve item 14Q?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions? Okay.
And yeah, just for the public, this resolution is to put the bond in the ballot. It's not voting for the bonds distinctly. The decision had to also be taken by the public, by the voters. They have the last decision to pass or not this one. Yeah.
I think that's an important point to make, Sergio, that we're just approving that it goes on the ballot, and it's up to the voters to decide whether or not they want to approve the bond. But we will be providing a lot of information over the coming months as to what that bond would be used for. And in the past, we've used it for our facilities and other things, but not any salaries.
Okay.
And that is absolutely correct. And also, the resolution does outline for the public some more details, as well as when they'll have the chance for their voices to be heard November 5th.
Perfect. So, can I get a motion to approve 14Q?
I think we did.
We did? Okay, so then are we all in favor?
Yes.
There was discussion, and now are we all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Thank
Aye,
you. Continuing to 14R, the approval of expulsion case 2023-2024 2021-039, the recommendation and findings of fact and conclusion of law, OE11. Can I get a motion to approve 14R?
I'll move that.
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are looking to include in one vote 15A through 15L. The acceptance of gifts, 15A, B, the approval of purchase order report, 15C, the approval of agreements under $10,000, 15D, the agreements over $10,000, E is the disposal of surplus property, F, the approval of a memorandum of understanding, G is the adoption of a resolution, approval to utilize piggyback contracts and other cooperative purchasing agreements. Next, H would be the adoption of resolution to approve disposal of surplus property. I would be approving a delegation of authority to the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services to award emergency contracts. J, approval to increase federal micro-purchase threshold. And K, rescinding of Board Policy 0470, COVID mitigation plan. And then L, the award of a leaseback contract for the preliminary phase services education code 17406 for the Trent to Erickson Hall construction for the transitional kindergarten improvement project. Would anyone like to pull an item or for discussion or review or comments?
I don't, thank you.
Okay.
No.
Okay, it looks clear. Okay, can I get a motion to approve superintendent consent items 15A through 15L?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we look at approval of meeting minutes for June 11th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Move for approval.
I think, did you, 17A and B?
Oh, well, I thought, oh, we're over here. We're on the top.
16A.
We're at 16?
16A.
16.
Okay, all right, sorry.
16, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm okay, and thank you for doing that, keeping me on my toes. These are the approval of our minutes on Tuesday, June 11th, regular board meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Good, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Thank you. These two items, 17A and B, are informational items. First was the reading of revisions to Board Bylaw 9270, the conflict of interest, OE 8.1. The second informational item was early Head Start and Head Start reports, per the requirements for Head Start Act for April 2024. Well, the board has received this information and reviewed it as well. Next, item 18, are there any suggestions for future agendas? Any ideas? Okay. Our next board meeting will be July 9th, and we'll be going over the annual plan then. There were 2 board revisions I didn't get to show you, and maybe on the 9th I'll be able to show you some ideas about additional policies. So, anything that we need to talk about or any concluding statements tonight? Good night. Thank you for the last
Good
2
night.
days. Yes. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move for adjournment.
Good deal.
Second.
Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Everyone.